Okay, so we are in the final step here of recreating this Google Doodle theremin. Uh, which I am failing at following along, but that's not really the point here. Okay, so so far what I have is my glowing orb, my squares. Okay, now if you hear, I had created the amplitude method here to change the volume going up and down, but if you hear it gets kind of like crackly and scratchy there, okay, which I do not like. So I did a quick check into the reference page for the sound library. This is always a good place to just look into stuff. So I went to P5 sound library here. I'm using the oscillator object, and I just wanted to see something about the amplitude, the amp method. So here it gives us all this stuff: set type, frequency, etc., etc. But I just looked into the amp, and I found that it takes this volume between 0 and 1, but also has this optional one called ramp time, and that basically just means that you can sort of make it fade in as opposed to immediately changing, and I think that is what I want to do here. So I'm going to add a additional ramp time, just make it a little quick ramp up, so as it changes from amplitude to amplitude, it's not going to have that crackly sound, okay, which is much better. All right, so now the last thing I need in my theremin is I want to put the names of the notes in all of the squares. And that's going to require to make some text, okay? Now, we have not really done anything with text yet, so I'm going to jump in here. Now, ultimately, I'm going to make an array of all the different text that happens, but just very quickly to show you how text works, we just basically write the function text. And text takes 3 arguments. First, it takes the thing you want to write, so that always needs to be in quotes, okay, unless it is a variable or an array or something like that. So I'm just going to write hello, okay, just to kind of show you. Then it takes the X position and the Y position of your text, okay, so I'm just going to do 200, 200. I run it. Oh, I spelled text wrong. Here we go. So right there you see it says hello, okay? Now there's also something that goes with it called text size, which I could maybe do at like 35. That's lowercase t, capital S. Okay, and then we have hello there. Okay, now text also is going to need like fill and stroke weight and stuff, so I'm going to do a fill here. So there, I have hello. Okay, so that's how text works, okay? You can also go in p5.js reference, you could write like text, and it gives you other things about text, align, style, descent, ascent, so there's all kinds of stuff about text. I'm not going to get too deep into that, but since we haven't worked with text, figure I would mention that. So now I'm going to make an array. I'm going to call it letters, and inside this array I'm going to make the notes, okay? This is a G major scale. I'm going to make them all caps, and they all have to go inside quotes. So there's G, there's A, there's B, there's C, D, E, E, F, sharp, and G again. All right, so here I have an array of all my letters. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, in text, I'm going to write letters. And this time I'm just going to use the count. Oop, I don't want any of that to be capitalized. I had cap locks on there, letters. This time as the index, I'm just going to use this counter. So similar to we use this counter to kind of cycle through our rectangles. This counter is going to say, okay, the first time through this for loop, add the first letter, then the second letter, okay? But what I need to do is I need to constantly be spacing them out, because if I don't, I'll run this. See, I get all my letters just on each other in the same place. So what am I going to do? I'm going to use the same thing I've been using for my rectangles here. Use W times I, and let's see what happens. Okay. Now I could be a little picky here and maybe just scooch them over slightly by maybe like 5. Okay, or maybe like 15. I don't know. I'm going to be a little there. That maybe centers them a little more, maybe like 10. There we go. that is it. That is, we have successfully recreated this Google Doodle theremin. Okay. As I'm hearing that, I'm feeling like maybe that's more of like a sawtooth. I'm just gonna do a quick check here. So sawtooth, and maybe that will. Oh goodness! Oh, that sounds terrible. So maybe not. I'm gonna just go back to the default sine wave. Close enough. Okay, so you could play around with maybe the ask.type if you want to make a sound wave, but whatever. That is it. That is the successful recreation challenge of making this mouse theremin in the style of the Google Doodle. So hopefully seeing some real life application. People who make these Google Doodles are using very similar coding concepts that we have been using, and maybe one day you make something like this and it would be featured as a Google Doodle as well. Okay, so go ahead, try it. You can feel free to change some stuff, change the oscillator, change some of the frequencies. There's ways you could add more spaces and bars if you wanted to, so you could try out that. Experiment, just change some things, see what happens, and you can submit that for the music engagement assignment. All right, enjoy.